If they offend their partner or wife, they feel she might hinder them from sex. But if they do what she likes, she will reward them with sex. Can you hear that? The tables are shaking. Well, not mine. My table is properly fixed and it's okay. We saw many scenes where Femi couldn't decide for himself. Instead, the wife called the shot, and to get that reward, he obeyed like a teenager. Any man who lets his wife reward him with sex, especially when she says, "Oh, you've been a good boy, I will give you sex tonight," just know you are done for. Sex isn't something you should work for as a married man, and vice versa. It is a mutual desire you two should crave, something you should look forward to. The moment it becomes a commodity wherein it's a give and take, someone has the higher power. If she rewards you with sex, she can decide to starve you if you don't do something right. My brother, do everything you can not to be friend zoned in your marriage or your relationship. I can see a brother nodding his head along this line because many men wonder, how did I get to this point where I am afraid of my wife? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the Major Pane podcast, the only podcast crafted to guide men like you on unraveling your uniqueness to transform the world around you. This episode is brought to you by my online course, Unravel Your Uniqueness. Check out the description to use the link to access the course. I usually give a 100% discount code every month. My goal is to ensure that men have access to free resources or just resources in general, resources that will transform them and make them pivot in every area of their life. If you are a lady joining us, feel comfortable listening as we hope women learn how to build better men through the golden nuggets we will be sharing and learning. Follow this podcast wherever you are listening. Kindly like and subscribe if you get to watch this on YouTube. So, this is the second attempt I am making recording, producing, and editing this episode. The first attempt, I used two cameras. It was such a beautiful video. I had started editing it when I was inserting awesome supplementary footage and all that until I noticed there was this weird sound that just kept going on and off from time to time. It was a static sound, which I feel like that could be from my mic, or I don't know what the issue was, but then it affected the entire video. I thought it's something I could manage, but after a while, I noticed that, it would be unbearable for you also. I had to then revert to just audio. But what I'm doing is I'm going to be recording audios for a while because I just want to maintain my streak of releasing weekly episode of this podcast. There's no more excuses, honestly. No doubt recording video goes with extra amount of energy, planning, you know how the whole production team works, right? But audio is pretty straightforward. It's faster, it's easier to edit. So what I can do in order for my podcast episodes to be on YouTube, what I would do is I would just put the album art, just as you can see right now. The album art will be throughout the entire video, and sometimes I might end up putting one or two supplementary videos depending on what I'm talking about. But for the interviews, they are likely to still be in video format. If this is your first time on this podcast, I want to welcome you and encourage you to check out the other episodes that I have created so far for you. I have been getting lots of emails and feedback about the content. I sincerely appreciate you all, especially those of you who are dropping your review right on my Google My Business page. That's if you are to search Major Pane INTL on Google, you would see my Google Business page and you get to see the review, what people have to say working with me, either as a digital mentor or as a life coach. I look forward to seeing your review there someday. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any question, thoughts, or if you want to dive deeper into some topics, because I know some topics we are just scratching the surface. But guess what? Now we will be diving into the meat of some topics. Just a disclaimer before we proceed with this episode. I know this title might look confrontational. I can imagine you just looking at the title right now, Afraid of Your Wife, the man you don't want to be, and you are like, boom, I said it. Like this is a confrontational topic. No, 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 no. I just want you to chill. The goal isn't to make men override their wives, but rather to debunk why many men are afraid of their wives and how they can fill the leadership role. As a married man, I can tell you this: women love men who can lead. Leadership is sexy. Don't let anyone deceive you. Now, let's get into this. I don't know if you have seen the Nigerian Netflix movie, Blood Sisters. I don't know why I had to do my voice that way, but for real, trust me, that movie is awesome. I'm not a Nigerian movie fan, but this one got my wife and me, like we were sitting at the edge of our seat all the time. Even though some people criticize the movie, I would say the production, the soundtrack, the scripting, the casting are the finest thus far. Like, that's unarguable. Today's topic got inspired by the character Femi Ademola, the oldest child of the Ademola family, who is envious of his younger brother, Kola Ademola. It was surprising to realize that Kola not only abuses women but paints them in their affliction. I mean, literally. This isn't a movie review, but I want to share some themes that struck a lot of nerves and chords, especially regarding masculinity. The first theme, in my own opinion and from my own lens, is listen to people when they share. The movie amplifies the dangers of covering up trauma and the importance of giving a listening ear to someone, especially if they are going through abuse. Assuming Sarah's mom had listened to her daughter's pain, I believe unfortunate events wouldn't unfold. The second theme, the sins of the mother. Kola was a filthy rich sport brat. He was the male version of his mother. Despite how rich she is, her heart is dark. I mean, if you turn on the light in her heart, you wouldn't see anything due to the darkness in there. No emotion, no feelings, only inflicting pain onto others. Some men live by this mantra every day. I would hurt you before you hurt me. As a lady, if you come across a man who is after getting even, hurting you, inflicting pain on you, either emotionally, psychologically, or economically, run. That's for sure. Just run. Don't look back. The third theme is mind the family you marry from. I encourage everybody listening or watching this episode to be very mindful of the family they marry from. Marriage isn't all about your partner, but about the family they come from. While growing up, I saw a lot of people take this for granted, only to be regretful after seeing how much influence family has. If you marry from a good family, trust me, you will be thankful. I bless God for my in-laws. I love them more than words can say. Narrowing it down to our primary focus, the Femi Ademola character, the man with no balls. Excuse my language. This character represents what many men are experiencing behind the curtains of society, wherein their wives are in total control of their lives. They fear her because of what she can do or what they don't know she might do. Okay, I don't know if you have been following the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard court case. I mean, come on, unless if you literally living under a rock, you wouldn't know what's been going on, right? But I remember many years back, people were canceling Johnny when she accused him, and he lost so many opportunities. He lost a couple of roles and all that. But now that the truth is all coming out with video evidence, and yeah, like I heard he won the case, some folks are just quiet. And now it's like the table is beginning to turn again, and they're like, yeah, like men get abused too. Duh, like men have always been abused from the onset. Just that people don't really get to talk or shine light on those topics. But hence why this podcast is existing. We get to talk about those things. We get to let people know that men are also going through abuse. Men are having a lot of crazy things happening to them. However, through this podcast, we try to empower men. We try to shine more light on this, and we also try to share resources that could help and benefit and transform men. So if you're listening, Welcome. That's if you don't know that, that is what this podcast is all about. Today, our society is rapidly throwing stones, forgetting that we all live in a glass house. So you might want to be careful how you throw your stones or where you throw your stone, or in fact, not throwing any at all. Bringing it back to the Femi character, we can see that men who are afraid of their wives are often the type of men that, number one, they don't want to argue. These men, they confuse peace for letting essential things slide. They lack the initiative to look at matters from critical angles constructively. These men think avoiding will address the matter, unknown they are slowly giving away their authority. I am not advocating for men to be argumentative or to raise their voice, as nagging doesn't solve anything. Besides, it is unmanly and it's unsexy. The difference between keeping quiet and saying something is your intention and the words being said. If you stick to the end of this podcast, you will learn what to do to gain your power back. Number 2, men like Femi easily get manipulated and rewarded with sex. I wish that can just echo in your head. Sex. If they offend their partner or wife, they feel she might hinder them from sex. But if they do what she likes, she will reward them with sex. Can you hear that? The tables are shaking. Well, not mine. My table is properly fixed and it's okay. We saw many scenes where Femi couldn't decide for himself. Instead, the wife called the shot, and to get that reward, he obeyed like a teenager. Any man who lets his wife reward him with sex, especially when she says, "Oh, you've been a good boy, I will give you sex tonight," just know you are done for. Sex isn't something you should work for as a married man, and vice versa. It is a mutual desire you two should crave, something you should look forward to. The moment it becomes a commodity wherein it's a give and take, someone has the higher power. If she rewards you with sex, she can decide to starve you if you don't do something right. My brother, do everything you can not to be friend-zoned in your marriage or your relationship. I can see a brother nodding his head along this line because many men wonder, how did I get to this point where I am afraid of my wife? Now, let's take a look at why are some men afraid of their wives. There are many reasons. Some people are quick to say, "Oh, the man lacks confidence. It's not confident enough. It's not strong enough. Oh, his testosterone is low." I'm very careful to jump on that. Some reasons might revolve around social, religious, physical, emotional, and psychological reasons. Some reasons could stem from their previous relationship or a health problem, or he might have been conditioned to fear women. I won't be surprised, for real. You need to know that women don't control weak men. Weak men give women the power to control them. Now, let's take a look at the first reason why some men are afraid of their wives. Number 1, not understanding the difference between fear and respect. Fear of the unknown is often one main reason. Some men will say, "I don't know what she would do, what she would say, how she would treat me." They come up with this fancy excuse to be afraid of their wife. Some come up with a joke and say, women. Nah, I don't know women. I know any man afraid of his wife lacks enlightenment. There is a thin line between fear and respect. If you respect someone, you can fear hurting them. If you are afraid of someone, you can be yourself around them. Love and fear doesn't mix, as one of my IG followers last month said when I asked the question, why are some men afraid of their wife? He said love and respect go hand in hand. Putting fear before respect creates an imbalanced equation for yourself. Now, let me ask you some questions. What are the things you are doing that is making you afraid? Could it be that you aren't good at making the right decisions? That's why she scolds you or she calls you out? Are there bad habits that are preventing you from feeling empowered? Are you considering her degree as intellectual muscles that is intimidating you? Whatever the reasons are, brother, you can respect her, but you shouldn't be afraid of her. The moment you sense an atom of fear, you need to assess yourself first, or open up to her in a kind of gentle manner and communicate how you feel about these things. The second reason why some men are afraid of their wives is that these men don't get to see the proper modeling of masculinity. Some people grew up seeing their mothers maltreat their fathers or notice their fathers downplay themselves as weak men to keep the home together. Growing up in that environment makes a man ill equipped. It fuels his ignorance. He has no idea the beauty of being a leader. Men are born to lead. And for you to become a successful man, you have to go through life obtaining the leadership gems. Some are easy to acquire, while some are very tough to acquire. So I see you listening to this or watching this and you taking your notes, and I see how full your notes are, but then you still have a couple of questions like, what are the characteristics of men who are afraid of their wives? Like, you wouldn't know, so that you can be sure. And in order for you to start checking those characteristics that you have right now, if it's maybe in line to what I'm speaking to, or just so that you can have a general idea in order for you to avoid. There is something ironic about masculinity I have noticed. Some men might look strong from the outside, but they have a vacuum that needs to be filled inside of them. There's just this space and hole that can't be filled. However, they are not enlightened enough to know what it is they can use in filling that hole. Take, for instance, someone like Samson. From the outside was a strong man, but deep inside he had a weak mind. Yes, I would say it. Samson had a weak mind. Why? He prides his lust over Delilah more than the gift God has given him. As we know Solomon to be the wisest man that ever lived, to me, I would say Solomon made the most foolish choices. How? He married multiple wives, especially those that God warned him not to. Solomon amplified the foolishness of man. He echoed how important man needs God every day for the rest of his life. We can flash back and pick up incredible lessons from this man to enhance our life today, not using them as excuses for living an irresponsible life as some men would always do. Well, Solomon married multiple wives, so therefore I can do the same. Nah, I don't think so, but if that's your cup of tea, I wish you the best. But don't come crying, yeah, when things start happening and when you start realizing how scattered and ununited and just crazy your life turns out to be. Well, I leave that for you to think about. Some characteristics of these men are they have no firm values or belief. They have a weak moral compass or direction. They fail to identify and establish the leadership traits within them. They may be wealthy, they may be a manager or a supervisor, but still they are an absolute failure to their purpose. They don't generate any spark when it comes to creating a legacy for their generation. They might influence those outside their home, but they don't proactively influence those within their home. Some of them lack the confidence or even the intentionality or the mindset to make decisions. They would instead delegate essential decision making to another person, preferably their wives or their partner. The list goes on and on. I learned about all this while growing up and watching different men lose control of their homes because they are afraid of their wives. My mother will sit me down and she'll counsel me and tell me about the importance of a man being in charge. She did well schooling me about the core things I need to know to stay in charge. If you haven't seen my blog post about how single mothers can raise responsible men, I encourage you to check it out on my blog. It's such a wonderful read. I gave about 9 ways or ideas that single mothers can use in raising responsible men. I grew up in a single mother's home, so I definitely understand what it is. I am a testimony to you. Using the Bible as our roadmap and our compass to navigate, has it mentioned anything about men being strong, being unafraid of their wives, and leading their household? Let's have a look at Ephesians chapter 5 verses 23. It says, "For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church. He is the savior of his body, the church. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 3, it says, "But there is one thing I want you to know. The head of every man is Christ, the head of woman is man, and the head of Christ is God." I know some toxic men have used the scripture to aid their evil deeds, but that's not what we are up to here on this podcast. We are here to look at the truth, to draw strength and clarity from it. You have been instructed to be the head as a man, so why are you afraid? Do you believe you are capable of doing the job? Have you invested in yourself long enough that you feel excited to show up as the leader you are? Or are you just ignorant but hungry to learn how to be unafraid of your wife? What can you do to be unafraid of your wife? The first thing I have right here on my list is you need to brace yourself. Know that you will make mistakes and you have to be okay with making mistakes. Embracing your human nature is a significant first step to take. You can't develop wisdom overnight. You need to accept some fundamental truth about yourself and the situation you find yourself. Realize that you have no power over how your partner or your wife would react, but you have control over your own action, reaction, and conclusion. Focus on being a better leader by asking yourself, what better way can I handle this situation? Number 2, you need to learn how to communicate. What turns most men off during an argument is that they lack communication skills. Women are armed to the teeth with these skills right from birth. Communication, no doubt, is a learned skill, but men tend to struggle with this. Could it be that men don't usually speak about their emotion, making it hard for them to communicate about sensitive issues? It would be best if, as a man, you learn how to communicate, firstly by speaking about your feelings, then learning how to listen actively. Active listening equips you with a proper response. Don't be afraid to communicate. Embrace it. It is the vehicle to long-lasting confidence. And the other thing I need you to know is that you need to speak with intention, brother. Don't be afraid. Just speak with intention. Yeah. The third item I have on my list is examine yourself. Earlier on, I asked you some questions to understand the root cause of your fear. Are you expecting her to always agree with you? Are there ways you have been nurturing your fear without you knowing? Do you look up to her all the time to make decisions? Take out pen and paper to examine yourself. Whatever the case may be, you need to understand the root cause. I need you to write everything you feel or think that is wrong with you right now on, say, the left side of the paper. Be very blunt, be very transparent. Self-truth echoes heroism. Now, I need you to write everything great that you want to be. What is your ideal definition of a man? I want you to write that down. Who do you want to be? And I need you to give yourself some time. Like you can say, who do I want to be as a man in the next 3 months from now? You don't need to rush yourself, but just give yourself a couple of time and space so that you can have enough time to not only work on it, but also to reflect. And that way you can adjust and strategize and also see what are the growth areas that you've achieved. When you find out the root cause of your fear, you need to retrace your step. The goal is to chart a course towards the man you want to be. Now, talking about retracing your step, I know someone is just there saying, oh man, these are great points. Fabulous, awesome. Thank you, Major Pane. Like, I have never heard these items before, but now I lack the how-to. How can I retrace my step? First of all, thank you for asking. Thank you for asking that question. I really appreciate it. So how can you retrace your step as a man if you are afraid of your wife? The first thing is you need to create some space. Yes, you heard me. Try giving yourself some time to reflect and reset. She could be concerned and she could ask you if everything is okay. Like, are you okay? Is something wrong? Did I do anything wrong? You know, those kind of concerns, right? I mean, trust me, if she's a reasonable one, she would ask you. When she asks you that question, just reply and say, yes, I'm okay. I just need some time to think something's true. Well, again, if she's very caring, she can press further and say, Are you sure? Are you sure? Like, she just wants to know because she's very curious, right? At this point, you can tell her that you are going through an evolving process to be the man that you need to be. You heard that, right? I'm telling you, that response is gold mine. That response in and of itself has a total solution that would just make her at that point see you on a different level. Trust me. Okay, now the second thing you need to do while you've created some space, you want to be the better version of yourself, the better man that you want to be. What you need to be doing while that space is being created is you need to binge on stoicism. So you must have heard of a couple of books, stoic books. I mean, I would just advise you to be very careful what type of stoic book you put your hands on, because there are a whole lot of, in as much as there are so many good materials on a particular nice topic, there are so many evil and bad materials too on those nice topics. Many men are lazy to unlock their maximum potential. They are hungry for the result, but they are lazy or unaware of the process. Becoming an unraveled man is a process that comes with intentionality. You get excited when you realize that you are a fraction of who you can become right now. Like, who you are right now is just a fraction of who you can become. There's something bigger, something better of you. Stoicism is an excellent aspect of philosophy that opens your mind to a supernova realm you would never get from playing video games or hanging out with your buds. Last year, I purchased a book written by Ryan Holiday titled The Daily Stoic. You will need a journal and the book to get the best of it. You would get to write your reflection every morning and evening alongside your studies. Really, really great book. The second resource I would recommend is check out the link. Purchase my online course, Unravel Your Uniqueness. Surprisingly, I had women reach out to me that course, which I quote unquote created for men, they are like, wow, I love this. I like it. I want it. And I was like, oh, wow. So you can imagine for ladies to be interested in it, how much more men, you, who I created it for. Use the link, check out the course. If you need a coupon code, reach out to me and I will give you 100% coupon code for real. Like, I'm trying my best as much as possible to make this course as accessible as possible because I care about you and I want you to transform the world around you. The third way to retrace your step is get talking to someone smart. Discuss your experience with someone going through something similar or someone who has been through a similar path like yours. Doing this will iron out some of your newly found knowledge. There will be a couple of validation here and there which will help you understand how to implement the new life lessons into your life. Also, this is where I come in. I am here for you. Should you require someone to discuss with, share ideas, or hold you accountable, I am here for you. To wrap this up, I know I have said a lot of things that would take you a couple of days or hours to debunk some of these things and to extract the substance and nutrient and also translate it into your life. Trust me, you can reflect on this episode as long as you want. It's all yours, all right? To wrap this up, the Unraveling Your Uniqueness framework requires you to realize that you can internally change an external situation. Out of the abundance of your heart, out of the virtues of your soul, you can create dynamic change in your life and your relationship if you choose. If you are a lady listening to this right now or watching this video on YouTube, please share this with your brothers or your partner, the men around you. If you know someone that you feel like is struggling with something like this, please share it with them. Also, for the ladies, I've created a couple of topics that would interest you. You should check it out. I look forward to reading your comments. I look forward to seeing your chat. I look forward to listening and seeing your questions. Just reach out to me at majorpaneintl@gmail.com, or you can visit my website. You can also message me on Instagram. Just reach out to me. I'm everywhere, honestly. I look forward to seeing you next week for another episode and awesomeness. Take care and cheers.